There are stories where reasonable people can disagree on the policy. This is not one of them. Washington State is already staring at a massive budget shortfalls. Agencies are being told to cut spending, local governments are struggling to balance their books, and taxpayers are being asked to pay more for just about everything. So the idea that our state is now spending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to study race-based reparations with recommendations that could eventually carry a price tag in the billions is beyond difficult for me to justify. I don't support reparations, and I certainly don't support Washington taxpayers footing the bill for them while the state can't seem to keep its own finances under control. If that wasn't concerning enough, this project is already surrounded by questions about how the contract was awarded, why nationally recognized experts were sidelined, why funding partners backed away, and whether the entire process has been handled with the transparency taxpayers deserve. Sadly, none of that should surprise anyone who's been watching Washington state government. Washington has developed a habit of turning expensive government projects into stories filled with mismanagement, questionable decisions, and allegations of favoritism. Whether it's incompetence, bureaucracy, or something worse, taxpayers always seem to be the ones left paying the bill. Tonight we're going to walk through what actually happened, where the money is going, why nearly $500,000 in promised funding disappeared before the work was even underway, and why this debate isn't just about reparations anymore. It's about whether Washington State can be trusted to manage taxpayers' dollars responsibly in the first place.
From Seattle to Los Angeles, this is Left Coast News. No apologies, just the truth.
When the Washington State Democratic Party voted unanimously at its Spokane conference to formally adopt a platform supporting the implementation of reparations for descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, Party Chair Shasti Conrad declared that Washington was proudly leading the nation. But beneath the historic optics of a state party platform endorsement lies a deeply troubled state-funded study, an ongoing localized mutiny that has frozen hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding, and a highly questionable procurement process that bypassed some of the world's leading reparations scholars in favor of a local corporate diversity firm. What was envisioned as a robust $750,000 public-private master project has been severely handicapped, operating on a shoestring budget of just $300,000 after major counties pulled their financial backing over concerns that the state's chosen contractor is in over its head. The trillion-dollar question, the looming fiscal reality. While the current legislative mandate focuses strictly on research, the eventual policy recommendations slated for delivery to the legislature by June 30th, 2027 carry unprecedented fiscal implications for Washington State. The study is tasked with designing frameworks for direct cash payments, housing and real estate investments, and policy reforms. While neither the state nor its contractor has finalized a local payout structure, the economic models utilized by the study's principal investigator, Dr. Thomas Kramer, hint at staggering eventual costs. Dr. Kramer, a national authority on reparations modeling, has previously calculated the national debt of uncompensated slave labor to sit between $12 trillion and $20 trillion. On an individual level, models he has historically developed range from $290,000 to over $350,000 per eligible descendant to bridge the generational wealth gap. If Washington attempts to implement even a fraction of these individual payouts, the state's taxpayers could face a liability stretching into the billions, a reality that critics argue is entirely unsustainable for a state government. Fears over these massive financial transfers have already sparked heavy pushback from local taxpayers and conservative groups who argue that state-level, race-exclusive financial programs violate both the state and federal constitutions. The procurement backdoor, sidelining the experts. How did Washington State select the firm tasked with calculating these historic figures? That question has ignited a firestorm of controversy surrounding the state's Department of Commerce and the Commission on African American Affairs. The state's $300,000 contract was awarded to Truclusion, registered as Further Consulting Services, LLC, a private consulting firm based out of DuPont, Washington. Prior to securing this massive statewide contract, Truclusion had executed exactly one other public sector reparations job, a highly localized pilot study for the city of Olympia. That project carried a modest budget of just $44,840, making the state study a massive jump in scale for a firm whose traditional portfolio consists of corporate DEI workshops and anti-bias training. The selection raised immediate red flags when public records revealed the highly irregular treatment of competing bids. The 22-day malware quarantine. During the state's competitive request for proposal RFP window, the submission from Dr. Marcus Anthony Hunter, a world-renowned UCLA sociologist, author of Radical Reparations, and architect of federal reparative legislation, was flagged by the Department of Commerce's security filters. His application sat isolated in malware folder for 22 days while state viewers actively scored Truclusion's bid. Sidelining elite scholars, Dr. Hunter's bidding team included Dr. William Sandy Darity Jr., a legendary Duke University economist widely considered the premier authority on the macroeconomics of reparations. The refusal of transparency. After Truclusion was announced as the winner, the state twice denied the Sideline academic team their legally guaranteed right to a formal debriefing, forcing Dr. Hunter to retain legal counsel just to compel the Department of Commerce to answer basic public records requests. Does any of this surprise anybody? To local organizers, the sequence of events looked like a technological glitch and more like a bureaucratic backdoor maneuver to award a lucrative contract to a predictable local firm rather than independent national scholars. $450,000 frozen, a handcuffed initiative. The fallout from the procurement scandal was swift. Local advocacy groups, including the Washington Equity Now Alliance, had spent months organizing to secure local matching funds from county boards to supercharge the study's budget. The original financial blueprint was formidable. $300,000 in baseline state funding, $300,000 in matching funds from King County, and $150,000 in matching funds from Pierce County. However, when details of the flawed selection process and Truclusion's lack of a rigorous academic track record came to light, county officials revolted. Citing a lack of confidence in the procurement's integrity and the firm's qualifications, both King and Pierce counties froze their matching funds. As a result, Truclusion is currently attempting to execute a sprawling, complex statewide study on only 40% of its intended budget. The firm must now navigate 8 distinct geographic focus areas, including Spokane, Tacoma, and the Tri-Cities, with a severely restricted financial runway. An uncertain path forward. While Truclusion's team, which includes Dr. Kramer and veteran genealogist Micah Anders, insists they are making steady progress toward their December 2026 interim update, the cloud of suspicion hanging over their appointment remains a significant obstacle. By pushing out the country's preeminent reparations experts through an administrative email quarantine and proceeding with a corporate consulting firm with virtually no macro-level research experience, the state turned a historic policy initiative into a masterclass in institutional distrust, something the Democrats in this state are very good at. When the final recommendations are delivered to the state legislature in June 2027, lawmakers will not just have to reckon with the multi-billion-dollar price tag of reparations. They will have to decide if a study born from a compromise process can ever carry the credibility required to change state law. At the end of the day, this debate is about far more than one study or one political platform. It's about priorities. Washington families are paying some of the highest gas prices in the country. Housing remains out of reach for many young families. Businesses continue to absorb higher taxes and regulations. Local governments are struggling with public safety, infrastructure, and homelessness. And the state itself has been wrestling with multi-billion-dollar budget problems that lawmakers are still trying to solve. Yet somehow our leaders have decided that spending taxpayer money to build a framework for reparations deserves a place near the top of the agenda. Whether you support reparations or oppose them, every taxpayer should expect something far less controversial, an honest, transparent process. Instead, what we've seen are questions about procurement, concerns over qualification, funding partners walking away in a project that has been dogged by controversy before it has even reached its final recommendations. If state leaders eventually ask Washington taxpayers to fund billions of dollars in new obligations, they shouldn't expect people to simply take their word for it. Trust has to be earned. And when government repeatedly demonstrates poor financial management, questionable contracting decisions, and a lack of transparency, that trust disappears. The legislature won't receive the final recommendations until June of 2027. When that day comes, the conversation won't just be about reparations. It'll be about whether a state already struggling to pay its own bills believes the answer is to create another potentially massive financial obligation for future generations. As always, the numbers matter, the facts matter, and your tax dollars matter. So what do you think about reparations? Do you agree with it? The state became a state after slavery was abolished. Yes, I understand that some slavery occurred in the Northwest Territory because they were brought from the South. Does that mean we should be paying reparations? I don't think so. Do I think that it ultimately really affects people these days? No, I don't. You have every opportunity in this world, in this present world, to go to school and make something of yourself. People need to stop playing the victim. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person we built this channel for. Left Coast News exists to cut through the noise and bring you straightforward analysis of the stories shaping Washington, the Pacific Northwest, and beyond. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe and follow us wherever you get your content, including YouTube, Rumble, Brighteon, BitChute, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you'd like to help support independent journalism, you can also join us on Patreon. Patreon is free for now. You'll find the link in the description below. And if you think this story matters, share it with your friends and family. That's one of the biggest ways you can help this channel grow. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you agree with this analysis, or do you see it differently? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching Left Coast News.